Sup, you beautiful bastards. Hope you're having a fantastic Thursday. Welcome back to the DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about today is the latest edition of massive online creator at the center of international controversy news. And that person we're talking about today is PewDiePie. And I mean, this thing blew up everywhere. It was on the BBC. And the reason there was such a big reaction is Felix posted this Demi Lovato meme. Frame by frame, we see, "Mom, can you give me money for burger?" To buy burger? Yes. Actually buys heroin like a boss. And immediately you saw people pushing back against this. Jimmy Wong tweeting, "Come on, bro, this is making light of something that a lot of humanity struggles with day in and day out, and countless families have been torn apart by it. Offensive humor for the sake of offensiveness isn't edgy, it's just lazy and destructive." Some simply commenting that it wasn't funny. We also saw some fans commenting on the fact that they've supported him previously through scandal after scandal. One user writing, "Come on, Felix, we've stayed with you through a lot. Don't make a joke out of someone struggling with such a terrible addiction. She's been fighting this for literal years. She went to rehab for this. This is not an okay joke to make. There is no okay joke to make about this." But of course, at the same time, you had people supporting. One saying dark humor is like food. Not everyone gets it. Some seemingly arguing that Felix is unfairly villainized. One user tweeting, "Literally anyone except PewDiePie could have posted that and it would have been fine. We all just love going at that man's throat." And as far as Felix's reaction to the online reaction, he ended up deleting the tweet and posted, "Deleted meme. I didn't mean anything with it and I didn't fully know about the situation. I realize now it was insensitive. Sorry." And as far as that response, was Felix actually ignorant to what was happening with Demi Lovato? It's possible. At the very least, it's important to note that it doesn't appear that he made the meme himself. It was on other websites. It seems like he was just posting another one. He also has a show that's dedicated to memes, and we've seen people saying, well, because he has that show, obviously he is actually aware of the situation, whereas others said, no, it just means that he's sharing this thing that was gaining traction, arguing that that doesn't prove anything. And that's really all there is to this story. I've seen people throwing out the hashtag PewDiePie is over party. My response to that hashtag is no. And obviously part of my reaction is based off of past controversies with Felix and how he was able to survive, and not only survive, but thrive past them. And those situations were arguably more offensive and fueled by a lot of coverage. But also I have that reaction because just if you look at stories in general, cancel culture 99% of the time fails. And I think there's a mixed reason for that. There are some people that go, you know what, human beings are flawed individuals. Sometimes they're not going to be perfect for me. They're gonna do wrong. I should be open to that. And then of course there's the blind love and support that does not falter even in the most extreme of situations that we see with, once again, not on the same level in any way. You know, like with extreme situations like with a Bill Cosby. But ultimately where I land with this story isn't me saying I'm outraged or offended by Felix posting this meme or I want something bad now to happen. I mean, as far as that meme/joke is concerned, it looks like the whole intent is just to troll people, to trigger people. And it now has very much done that. But where I ultimately land with this story is more of a question about myself and society. Right? Hopefully by talking about the world every day, we find out more about people and thus ourselves as well. I end up thinking, would I have a different reaction to this story if I replaced Felix with someone else? Right, whether it be this situation or past ones, and I won't include the Nazi stuff since I feel like Felix was wildly misrepresented there. Right, but what if for Felix's N-word controversy, when he referred to someone as the N-word while he was streaming? What if that had been, let's say, Logan Paul? What if this situation had been Logan Paul or Jake Paul? Would I have a much different reaction to that? Would you have a much different reaction to that? And also, would some of the people going in on Felix right now, presumably some of those are Logan Paul fans, would they have a completely different tune if it was Logan at the center of this story? And so the question I want to pass off to you, where I want to end this story, is what are your thoughts on that? Do you think you would react the same or different? And also, people in general. When you break it down to the nuts and bolts, do you feel like most people are just playing for teams? I'd love to know your thoughts on this one. And then let's talk about Facebook, because yesterday they lost nearly $130 billion in market value in 2 hours. And that is Facebook's steepest stock decline ever. And just to kind of put this into context for you, because for a lot of people, when you start talking about numbers this large, you might as well be saying, but Jillian, what do you compare it to? Well, for comparison's sake, the $130 billion, that by itself, the loss, is more than 3 times the value of Ford Motor Company. And Zuckerberg himself lost $16.8 billion in value. He dropped from the 3rd richest person in the world to the 6th. So of course, thoughts and prayers to Mark Zuckerberg in these trying of times. I don't know if he's gonna be able to pull through, he said sarcastically. So the question becomes, why? Why did this happen? I mean, there's been Facebook controversy after Facebook controversy. Why now? Well, the massive drop came after a disappointing earnings report and comments made by Facebook's chief financial officer. Analysts had projected Facebook would be bringing in $13.3 billion this quarter, but unfortunately for Facebook, they missed that mark, getting in just, and it's so weird to say just, 13.2 billion. So they fall short by 0.1 billion, which doesn't sound like a big number, doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is important to note that this is the first time they've missed analyst revenue projections since 2015. So you had that situation, plus CFO David Wenner said sales growth would continue to slow down through the rest of the year. And Facebook also fell short of analyst projection that they would hit 1.49 billion daily active users. Instead, Facebook had just, and once again, just as a weird word to say 1.47 billion daily active users last month. And it's important to point out that a lot of this is just based on them not hitting projections. The story here is not that Facebook is not growing. In fact, just from last year, daily active user growth jumped 11%. The story is that they missed projections, and I think a lot of people are worried that that is going to be a continued trend because of all of the past scandals and controversy. And moving forward, I think Facebook is going to be fine. There is an interesting angle to all of this. And that angle, and I think the thing that should be pointed out, is that for some reason, despite all of the Facebook controversy, Instagram has been largely untargeted, which is interesting considering Facebook owns Instagram. And as far as Facebook's long-term success, Instagram seems to be a winner for them. You might remember back in 2012, Facebook bought Instagram for the low price of $1 billion. And I say low price because just earlier this month, analysts said that if Instagram was their own company, it would be valued at $100 billion. Also reportedly, Instagram ad revenue is 4 times more than Facebook's for the year. This despite Instagram having less monthly users than Facebook. Instagram has around 1 billion, where Facebook has around 2 billion, and Instagram is just gaining ground right now, which is fantastic news for Facebook when one of your main competitors is another thing that you own. It's like if Google also owned Twitch and they were like, oh no, Twitch is gaining so much ground, how horrible. But that said, as far as the success and failures with Facebook, or really any other social media company right now, we're all just gonna have to kind of wait and see. But from that, I wanna share some stuff I love today, and today in Awesome brought to you by Squarespace. Whether you need a domain, an online store, a beautiful website, make it with Squarespace. And it's just so easy to make a beautiful website with Squarespace's all-in-one platform. It's easy to use, it's intuitive. There is nothing to install, patch, or upgrade ever. Maybe you end up needing some help. They've got award-winning 24/7 customer service. And so if you wanna make the smart move like many from the nation already have, you go to squarespace.com/Phil, start your free trial today. And when you like it, make sure you enter in code Phil for 10% off your first purchase. And the first bit of awesome today is a little flash sale. If you've been wanting to snag the sports shirt, the best way to say I am so thankful you invited me to this event even though I do not know what is going on. If you want to snag one over the next 36 hours, just make sure you enter in coupon code BOFA and you'll get 20% off. Then we got a trailer for To All the Boys I've Loved Before. We had Ted giving us How Can You Change Someone's Mind? We got a trailer for season 3 of Animals, which is one of the weirdest shows I've ever watched. We got Wiz Khalifa on Hot Ones. We had Life Noggin asking how small are you compared to the galaxy? Then we had Thrillist giving us ramen pizza. Is it actually pizza? And if you want to see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. And then let's talk about all this talk we've seen over the past day about impeachment. And there have, of course, in the past been moments where you saw Democrats talking about impeaching the president, but who we are talking about today, it's not the president. Yesterday we saw that 11 House Republicans filed articles of impeachment against Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. That, of course, notable because Rosenstein is overseeing the Russia investigation since Jeff Sessions recused himself. As far as the lawmakers leading this move, you had Freedom Caucus leader Congressman Mark Meadows of North Carolina. You also had Congressman Jim Jordan of Ohio. And they've been threatening to file these impeachment articles for months, claiming Rosenstein both mishandled the 2016 election investigations and that he is withholding documents from Congress. In a statement, Meadows saying, Rod Rosenstein has been in charge of the Department of Justice as the agency has made every effort to obstruct legitimate attempts of congressional oversight. The stonewalling over this last year has been just as bad or worse than under the Obama administration. For 9 months, we've warned them consequences were coming, and for 9 months, we've heard the same excuses backed up by the same unacceptable conduct. Time is up and the consequences are here. It's time to find a new Deputy Attorney General who is serious about accountability and transparency. And as far as why now, this move is coming after the Department of Justice publicly released a heavily redacted version of the Carter Page warrant this weekend. And kind of as a quick TLDR, Carter Page is a former Trump campaign advisor, central figure in the Russia investigation. The FBI believes that Page was targeted by Russians to undermine the 2016 presidential election. While you have House Republicans saying that the FBI abused its power and misled judges when applying for surveillance applications of Page. As far as the articles of impeachment, there are 5, and I would jump into them, but one of the largest updates to this story is they are no longer trying to impeach Rosenstein, which makes sense because 1, it already appeared like it would be a long shot. Republicans like Paul Ryan have said they do not want to impede the Russia investigation. And I mentioned him specifically because he also issued a statement today saying he doesn't believe Rosenstein's actions warrant impeachment, saying, I don't think we should be cavalier with this process or this term. Number 2, I don't think this rises to the level of high crimes and misdemeanors, which is a really high standard. And so now Congressman Mark Meadows is is tabling the pursuit of impeachment, but instead, now he wants to pursue contempt if the DOJ doesn't turn over documents. As far as why Meadows changed his mind, he said he spoke with Republican leaders, this including Chair of the House Judiciary Committee Bob Goodlatte, and Meadows telling reporters, "I hope we can avoid impeachment and hopefully avoid contempt and get the documents. But certainly both those things are on the table and remain on the table to have more of a contempt process. Both options remain there." Also, another reason I mentioned Speaker of the House Paul Ryan is, you know Jim Jordan, the congressman from Ohio that helped lead this whole thing? According to reports, in the midst of all of this, Jordan has sent a letter to his colleagues announcing that he is officially running to replace Paul Ryan as Speaker of the House. Which, I mean, we already knew that Paul Ryan was retiring, but it'll be interesting to see which way Trump goes and which way all Republicans go. Because Paul Ryan has already endorsed Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy, and he's also believed to be a favorite with Trump. So is the move today in some sort of way a showing of faith, a showing of what kind of Speaker of the House he could be for Trump moving forward. Also, as far as Jeff Sessions' take here, it appears that he is standing by his man.
My deputy, Rod Rosenstein, is highly capable. I have the highest confidence in him.
And then adding, what I would like Congress to do is to focus on some of the legal challenges that are out there. We need Congress to deal with the immigration question. But for now, that is where we are, and it will be interesting to see going into the midterms, does this escalate? Does it go away? Also, once Paul Ryan is no longer Speaker of the House, once we see what the shuffling in the House of Representatives ends up looking like, what happens from there? Based on how everything shakes out, do we see this reemerge? And then let's talk about the news and reports of the White House banning a reporter for the questions that she was asking. And it's been really interesting to watch the different reactions to this, but we'll start off at the top. Yesterday at an Oval Office photo op, a CNN reporter by the name of Caitlin Collins asked Trump a series of questions about Cohen, the tapes, and Putin. Which, if you don't know about the tape, the Michael Cohen situation, essentially the TLDR, Tuesday night there was a recording released of Michael Cohen and Trump discussing what appeared to be a payment for the Karen McDougal story back in September of 2016. McDougal sold the rights to her story of an alleged affair she had with Donald Trump in 2006 to America Media Inc., the parent company of the National Enquirer. And that small bit of audio is just a little audio from one tape that is one of many tapes that were taken by the FBI from Cohen's office and residence. And as far as the part with Putin, Trump of course invited Putin to the White House in the fall, but before Russia accepted the meeting, it was suspended until 2019. And as far as the moment in question, we have video that shows Collins asking the questions to the president, who was looking away from her, while people are trying to get the press out of the room.
Did Michael Cohen betray you?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Mr. President, are you worried about what Michael Cohen is going to say to prosecutors?
Thank you, Caleb. Let's keep going.
Are you worried about what is on the other tapes, Mr. President?
Thank you all. Let's keep going. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Why has Vladimir Putin not accepted your invitation?
Keep going. Come on. Thanks, everybody.
And here it's being reported that Collins was representing 5 networks at the time. Reporters also saying that it is incredibly common for reporters to ask questions during events like that. Collins adding later, those questions were questions any reporter would have asked, and I was there to represent all of the networks and therefore asked about the questions of the day. And internally, they call that question portion a pool spray. And during sprays, it's standard practice for reporters to ask questions. Now, following those questions from Collins, she says she was later called into a meeting with Deputy Chief of Staff for Communications Bill Shine and Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders. And Shine's involvement here is notable because he just started working at the White House earlier this month, and he's a former Fox News executive that was pushed out for his handling of sexual harassment scandals. And here, Collins says that the two told her that the questions she had asked were inappropriate and that she would not be allowed to attend an open press event later in the day, adding other CNN reporters would be allowed to go to the event, but you cannot. And this resulted in CNN releasing a statement on the incident saying, "Today, CNN White House correspondent Caitlin Collins was denied access to cover an open press event at the White House," adding that she was told her questions were inappropriate. They were not. Adding, just because the White House is uncomfortable with a question regarding the news of the day doesn't mean the question isn't relevant and shouldn't be asked. This decision to bar a member of the press is retaliatory in nature and not indicative of an open and free press. We demand better. And on the other side of this, you had Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders saying, "At the conclusion of a press event in the Oval Office, a reporter shouted questions and refused to leave despite repeatedly being asked to do so. Subsequently, our staff informed her she was not welcome to participate in the next event, but made clear that any other journalist from her network could attend. She said it didn't matter to her because she hadn't planned to be there anyway. To be clear, we support a free press and ask that everyone be respectful of the presidency and guests at the White House." And this morning, Shine objected to the use of the word ban regarding the coverage of this event. And like I said, the response to all of this was very interesting because yes, you did see some of what you expected. People like Peter Baker, chief White House correspondent for the New York Times, tweeting, "Outrageous of the White House to bar CNN reporter Caitlin Collins from an open press event because it did not like her questions. A strong leader does not fear questions. A strong democracy does not shield its leader from those who question authority." Hallie Jackson, chief White House correspondent for NBC News, calling it inexcusable, unacceptable, and sets an extremely dangerous precedent. Adding, "We shout questions at the president regularly. It's called doing our job." adding, "I stand firmly with her." But in a big move, a show of unity, we saw Fox News President Jay Wallace saying in a statement, "We stand in strong solidarity with CNN for the right to full access for our journalists as part of a free and unfettered press." And you had Fox News' chief political anchor Brett Baier saying,
"As a member of the White House press pool, Fox stands firmly with CNN on this issue of access."
And on top of that, he was also defending Collins on Twitter in response to people. Although it is important to note that the support was not universal. You had Lou Dobbs on Fox Business saying this.
"I guess my question would be, who the hell are you? The president does insist on respect. All I have to say about that is it's about time there were consequences for disrespectful behavior in the White House."
Now, based off of the connection Dobbs has with Donald Trump, there were a lot of people going, okay, well, that's not too surprising. But it also resulted in people saying that Dobbs is a hypocrite who's playing for teams, noting that back in 2012, when Obama was president, after the Obama White House criticized Neil Monroe from the Daily Caller, this for shouting out questions at an event. Following that instance, Lou Dobbs said, "I don't know if you had the opportunity to go on Twitter and listen to the clucking of all the people going, 'It's against the decorum of the White House and it's rude to the president,' adding, 'What's rude is the president not speaking to the American people and taking the questions of the White House press.'" So as far as if Lou Dobbs is being a hypocrite, a team player here, or if maybe his opinion has evolved, I'll leave that up to you as a viewer. But as far as where I land on this, of course it is incredibly concerning if the White House is going to bar a reporter for asking questions. You could argue that they barred a person, not a network, so it's not a ban, it's not censorship, but it was a ban on an individual that was working for a network that was banned seemingly, at least in part, to the questions she was asking and the actions that many other reporters also do, but were not banned. It ends up looking like the White House trying to send a message to other reporters, and that is also why I appreciate it greatly that the president of Fox News spoke out about this. But that said, that's my personal takeaway from it, and whether you agree or disagree, I would love to know your take about this story in the comments down below. And that's where I'm going to end today's show. And of course, remember, this is the PDS. It is not just a show, it is a conversation. So whether it be the last story, the first one, anything in between, I'd love to know your thoughts in those comments down below. And remember, if you like these daily weekday videos, let us know. Hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Also ring that bell to turn on all notifications. But that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.